Hey everybody, welcome to another Cheltenham Focus with me, Daryl Carter for RacingTips.com. Not long now, 5 weeks away. Really excited. We've had a fantastic weekend this weekend. Leopardstown, the Dublin Racing Festival has been outstanding. Top class racing, top class 2 days of racing. Fair play to them. They put on a really, really good show. And I just want to start this programme off by saying Faheen the Machine is an unbelievable racehorse. I've got it wrong at the beginning of the season, suggesting that it was the wrong thing to do to send a novice chasing. I'm happy to admit that. I got it wrong. He was sensational. He brought the roof off the place at Leopardstown on Sunday. Really impressive. Love the way he did things. It's what this sport is all about. I just love him so much. I hope it attracts new people. We need horses like him to attract new people to the sport. And that is exactly what it's all about. It brings people together. It's an emotional time. The horse is a legend, an outstanding horse to the sport. He means a lot to everybody. He is the people's horse. And he got the job done really, really well. I'm really impressed with him. Battle over Doyen in the race, I, as suspected, did not think he was going to be a top-class chaser this season. I did before the season until I watched his first couple of runs. He's just a plodder to me, which is a worry for the Gordon Elliott team and where they're going to send him now. Perhaps the 4-miler, perhaps they'll still go for the RSA chase, but he's still got that issue with travelling over, and Cheltenham, we're not too sure what to do about him there. Easy game, very valiant runner-up, but it was all about Faheen, and he is just a sensational horse. Absolutely loved by everybody, and really, really happy he won. Really happy he won. But we're going to move on. Cheltenham Focus. Time to focus on betting, making money, looking at ante-post stuff. So, where are we at this weekend? We're going to cover this week. We're going to cover Leopardstown, what's happened the last 2 days. Talk to you about a couple of bits, timing, splits and times, and fractions and whatnot. We're going to pick up all of the action, pick up 1 or 2 pieces from Sandown. I'll give you an ante-post bet, and hopefully the portfolio is building up really, really nicely. We'll just look back on that and see where we're at as well. So, first and foremost, we're going to start with Ante-post, who won the Dublin Chase on Saturday. Really impressive style. Now, my first impression when I watched the race was, Christ, Min has run a cracking race there. Made most of the running, was up with the pace, and was only beaten 4 lengths, or 3 3/4 lengths in the end. That was my first initial reaction, and I was disappointed with Ante-post, if I'm being honest. But I went back, did the times, compared it to the Notebook race, which we'll come on to in a minute, and I did the 2 individual times. So I compared Ante-post and Min. So obviously, when you're visually watching the race, you would just assume that Min's running faster and then fading. But that's not actually always the case. So I timed between the 2 fences. I also study, because this is what I do. I study jumping, novice jumping, chasers jumping, their techniques, how much ground they're losing at fences, etc., etc. But I like to add the times in there just to check it's a truly run race. So I'm not trying to tell you how fast a horse can run or can't run. I'm just telling you what happened. So Ante-post, although was sat off the pace of Min and Ornua, actually ran very similar splits between the 2 fences as Min did. I think it was, I know it's the 3rd and 4th fences. Between the 3rd and 4th fence, he was 4 lengths behind Min. At the 5th and the 6th, he was 4 lengths behind Min. But between the second last and the last, he really quickened up. He was actually 1.5 seconds quicker than Min and was 4 lengths ahead. Now, he maintained that 4-length advantage despite the pair both making a mistake at the last, all the way up the running. Now, I have them very, very closely matched, Min and Ante-post. Very closely matched indeed. Perhaps Ante-post just got a slight better turn of foot at certain stages in the race. And I also think that Min is probably a little bit better over further these days. So I'm not entirely sure he's running up to his rating. However, both very equally matched. Min, talking about running over further, can get 9 to 2 best price for the Ryanair. General 4 to 1 shot. I think Chacon Boursois is going to have to improve to win the Champion Chase to beat Defi de Saul. I know he beat him last term, but that may well have come at the end of a long season for Defi de Saul. And it's the Cheltenham factor, which we can't underestimate. It's a huge factor. The course experience is second to none. And Defi de Saul absolutely thrives at Cheltenham. So that just may swing things in Defi's favour. Obviously, we throw Altior into the mix, my favourite horse, or one of my favourite horses in training, and it's a completely different ball game. So it's going to be really interesting. If all three of them turn up, it's going to be a cracker. But yeah, Cheltenham, different ball game to the flat Leopardstown track, so make sure you keep an eye on that. Talking of times and Notebook, we just mentioned him. I compared the race to Notebook's race just to see if both races were truly run before anyone gets on at me and tells me the timings are wrong and whatnot. Now, Notebook was 3 seconds overall slower than the winner of the Dublin Chase, Chacon Boursois, but he was a second quicker from the last to the final, to the finish line. You must note as well that Notebook played up beforehand at Leopardstown, was getting really agitated in the pre-parade ring, and he took an age to pull up afterwards. So he's definitely a weapon, and we should all be on him at a massive 25-1. He's now 5-2 favourite. I compared the times, and the splits were very, very similar. So this is between fences, so between the second and third, between the third and fourth, between the fifth and sixth, etc., etc. I'll start with Chacon Boursois, and then I'll compare it to Notebook. So Chacon Boursois, between the second and third, and we'll go from there. 14 seconds, Notebook 14 seconds. 32 seconds, 33 seconds, 22 seconds, 23 seconds, 15.5 seconds, 15 seconds, 11.5 seconds, 14 seconds. So that's the part of the race where Chacon Boursois started to make his move on the front two. And Notebook's field still carrying on at the same pace. 16 seconds, 15 seconds, 19 seconds, 19.5 seconds, 15 seconds, 14.5 seconds, 31 seconds, 32 seconds, 21 seconds, 20 seconds. So, very similar. Very strongly run race, the pair of the races. Cashback deservingly should go on his splits to the Arkle and have another crack at Notebook. However, I just feel that Cashback had things all his own way out in the front. He could have stopped, started the pace whenever he liked, and he still couldn't take care of Notebook, who played up beforehand and was being tough to pull up. So he is definitely a tall Notebook. We are on to a good thing there, I hope. But it was a cracking race nonetheless. Really, really exciting stuff. Was really impressed with both of them. Was chuffed to bits that Notebook got the business done there. We move on. Latest exhibition, won the Grade 1 over 2 miles 6 furlongs. Not impressed with the entire bunch, to be honest with you. There was less than 5 lengths separating the front lot and the second last. No one really pulled away too quickly. Cobbler's Way, I felt, didn't really get the rub of the green. He was sort of snatched up on the inside rail. Latest exhibition definitely took care of him. He had a little bit more in hand. So I don't think anyone will reverse the form there. I'm just not trying to get overexcited about latest exhibition, to be honest with you. But it is all boosting the Irish form. It was all starting to stack up quite nicely now. And we can sort of see where we are. I think latest exhibition had a little bit left in the tank as well. So wouldn't take the third and fourth in the second too seriously, to be honest with you. He's 8-1 for the Albert Bartlett. I think that would be his likely target. It looks like he wants much further. Every time he steps up in trip, he improves. So I think latest exhibition will be heading towards the Albert Bartlett. Honeysuckle. Many were underwhelmed by Honeysuckle's performance on Saturday, including the bookmakers who make a 6-1 shot. Now, I think we was all convinced that if she would have won that convincingly, she would be straight at the head of the Champion Hurdle market. It's not been the case with many bookmakers, around 6-1. Now, I did like the way she battled back. She made a silly mistake, or jumping a bit bold at the last, landed a bit flat-footed. Petit Mouchoir headed her up the running, and she battled back up the rail. I thought that was quite impressive, the way she was still had enough in the tank to do that. I don't think there's any doubt that her best trip is probably over 2.5 miles. She's not got much of a turn of foot. She's a strong galloper. strong staying type. It just might benefit her if she does go to the Champion Hurdle. Petit Mouchoir ran up to the level of his past 2 runs. So that form, you would suggest, is good enough to go to the Champion Hurdle from what they've got in Ireland this year. Sharjah, more than disappointing on his favoured ground. There was no excuse there at all. So you'd have to be disappointed with Sharjah, considering he's not going to get good to soft or good ground on the first day. They're going to make it soft, good soft in places, I would have thought, unless we have a drought until then. But yeah, Sharjah 16-1 now for the Champion Hurdle. There could be more to come from Dava Star, who is 50-1 in a place. 33s generally, but 50-1 in the place. Dava Star staying on really strongly, stepped out of novice company for the first time, and impressed, to be honest with you. He could throw his hat into the Champion Hurdle ring with a bit more of an improvement. Appreciate It won the Grade 2 Future Stars bumper by 7.5 lengths. Love the way he travelled, love the way he quickened up. Very smooth performance, rightly heading the market of the Champion bumper, now into 3-1. If you like him, take it. I think he's going to go off a short price this term. Sunday, Aspire Tower fell in the Grade 1 Juvenile Hurdle, won by a wave of the sea. I thought he had a bit left in the tank coming to the last, although it did look like a little bit of a tired fall. I didn't feel he was asked for maximum effort just yet. You'd have to be very deflated by the performance on a whole, really. The winner, A Wave by a Sea, Cerberus and Wolf Prince have all got form that ties in together through their last few runs. I don't think any of those are going to be good enough to win the Triumph Hurdle. It might well go to the English this year, but I think Aspire Tower was underperforming. But I still think he probably would have got the job done, considering he's beaten Wolf Prince by considerable margins the last couple of times. But, you know, I wouldn't give up on Aspire Tower just yet. That I will say that much. Asterion Furlonge, really impressive winner of the Charmel Farmer Novice Hurdle. A race that's produced horses that go to the Ballymore, the Albert Bartlett, the Supreme. He was 1 second quicker than the Juvenile Hurdle on the same card, but really impressive. I don't think the ground really suited him, but it is nice to knock the likes of Easy Work and the third off the list of horses to worry about when you're coming towards the Cheltenham Festival, because I don't think any of those are going to be quite good enough. Asterion Furlonge could go anywhere. It's very difficult to try and pinpoint where he's going to go, because the owners do own Shishkin, and the big Getaway. So it's really up to Willie Mullins, and this race doesn't really give you a great indication of where they're going to go. Plenty have gone to the Bartlett, plenty have gone to the Ballymore, plenty have gone to the Supreme. So it's very difficult at the minute. I would say keep them at 2 miles, but that's just my opinion. Delta Work won the Irish Gold Cup, backed up his Savills Chase win earlier last month. He jumped much better this time around. He's a completely different model to his debut run, where he was well beaten. There was nothing not to like about it, to be honest with you. I think he's got some engine. I think he was given a poor ride last year in the RSA when finishing behind Santini. I felt Davy Russell should have gone when he had them all off the bridle, but he didn't. He waited at the last, made a slight error, and was just done for a bit of toe. I think he's a more powerful stayer. I definitely think he's got a massive chance in the Gold Cup. He's 5-1 at the moment. He's improving all the time, and in the jumping department, it is crucial. No excuses for the rest, if I'm being honest with you. Ken Boyd jumped out to his right, normally jumps out to his left. I have no idea what's going on with him. I did say at the beginning of the season I felt last term was his chance. Presenting Percy, raced side by side with Delta Work for the majority of the race until Delta Work went a couple of lengths ahead. Then he came back alongside. He cruised to 2 out. I'm not having anybody saying that he was not given a great ride. He was ridden to win the race. He just didn't have enough left in him at the finish, and he was beaten by the better horse. I don't think any of those horses have got a chance in the Gold Cup, apart from Delta Work. So I think we can move on there. If you like Ken Boyd, he's 8-1 for the Gold Cup. Presenting Percy out to 14-1, as to be expected. Bumper winner, Darling Daughter of Gordon Elliott, really impressive. Lots more to come from her. Big, strong filly, really got a special future. I love the way she quickened away when it looked like things weren't going her way. But pick up a couple of little bits at Sandown. Itchy Feet was impressive in the Scilly Isles. Now that race is a very good indicator for winners at Cheltenham. Definitely saw won that race before going on to the JLT last year. Terrafort, Top Notch, Bristol Demai, Oscar Whiskey. All horses that have gone on to run well at the Cheltenham Festival, if not win. Love the way he pulled quick and clear from his rivals. Put the same distance between himself and Grand Sonsi as Esprit du Large did in the King Henry the Novices Chase. So really impressive. He must be a player. He's 10-1 for the JLT, or for the Marsh Chase, sorry, if you like him. But that should have picked up everything. If I have not picked up any bits and pieces, do let me know in the video down below, and I'll make sure I'll get on it. I just want to answer some questions at the end of this as well, because a few people have got some. This week's Ante-post bet. Now, I know, better than anybody, that you should not be betting in the Albert Bartlett unless it's a big double-figure price. I think 6 of the last 10 have been double-figure price winners, and the shortest of those were 25-1. So I know we shouldn't be, but I am so taken with Monkfish of Willie Mullins, a 6-year-old. He's 8-1 for the race. I think that's pretty fair. I think this is going to be a really useful horse. He's taken a lot of time to come to hand. He's been very green in a lot of his starts, running over the bare minimum trip. They've always said this is a stayer, and this, he's improved each time he's gone up in distance, from 2 miles 4 this season up to 2 miles 6.5. He's won by 20 lengths last time out, 11 lengths, was beaten by Daryl Carter on reappearance after more than 193 days off. I reckon I can forgive him that over that trip after a break. I think he's got so much more to come. I think he could be a special horse in the future going forward. If you go back for his form, his National Hunt flat form, he was beaten by Longhouse Poet by 2.5 lengths over 2 miles 2. But that's just not his trip, so I just wouldn't worry too much about that. If you go back to his point-to-point over 3 miles where he won, and you look through the form, that was the same race that Chantry House came and unseated at the final fence. But looking behind, Fury Road, Fiddler on the Roof, there's some quality in there, and it was a good jump at the last, and he stayed on very strongly. So I think unexposed at 3 miles. I think he's got a class angle to him. I think Monkfish is a very decent horse, hopefully, for the future. But, right, couple of questions. Got to make this quick because it's been 17 minutes. Couple of questions. Does Aston Furlonge go for the Supreme or the Ballymore, given his owners have Shishkin as well? Like I say, I honestly would not like to guess. Willie normally has a Supreme hot pot by now. He hasn't. I would think he would want a runner, obviously, in the Supreme. I think he may stick him in the Supreme Noise. But I could also see him going to the Albert Bartlett. He screamed Albert Bartlett to me on the start before, so that would just be a concern. I'm as up in the air as you are, Ian Carr. But thank you very much for your question. What is the horse that's not going to lose, from a horse racing fan? Well, the horse that's not going to lose is going to be Notebook, because we're all on at 25-1. He's won back-to-back Grade 1s. The 2 key trials, which are the Racing Post Arkle and the Irish Arkle. He's beaten the best that they had to offer in Ireland. There is nothing really to offer in England. He just needs to get there in one piece and do the business. 10 of the last 10 Arkle winners have gone into the race on winning their last start. 6 of the last 10 have gone unbeaten in that season. He has got everything in his favour. He is an outstanding horse, providing he can keep a lid on it in the prelims. He should land us the money. Loving your weekly videos, mate. Thank you very much, Dave Griffiths. Learning so much from him. Any opinions on the best race of the days we focus on for each way Lucky 15s, covering the full 4 days? Depends what you want, Dave Griffiths. You can go handicaps, just cover the handicaps and put them in over the 4 days and go for the big bucks, or you could play a little bit more sensibly. Now, if you're going to play a little bit more sensibly, I would suggest playing Lucky 15s where the quality of the race is quite high quality, but the field is 4-1 or bigger. For instance, the Marsh Chase at the moment, that's quite a wide open field. And just to let you know, I'm not telling you how to bet, mate. You do what you got to do. But don't be putting any horses in an each way Lucky 15 that are shorter than 5-1, because it's just not going to work out well for you. You don't want to be putting 7-4 shots in there, odds on shots in there. It's just ridiculous. Don't back each way unless it's 5-1 or 4. You can get away with 4-1, get your money back, I suppose. Does Dava Star finishing close to Honeysuckle drag the form of the Irish champion hurdle down, or does it boost the form of Envoy Allen and Abracadabras for the novice races? I'd like to think the latter. Jake Harrison, good question. I think that Dava Star has got a reason to improve. It was his first step out of novice company into open company. He's only had the tongue tie on the last twice. If you go back and watch him behind Envoy Allen, he just gets caught short for room at the final hurdle. He's had to stop his run. He's had to pull wide and go round the field and stay on again. I think he would have been a lot closer to Envoy Allen and maybe ahead of Abracadabras if he would have had a clear run through. So I do think that he is a pretty decent horse. Now, I know you can be sceptical about a horse that's improved dramatically just from one start, but I do think he looks a pretty useful horse. So I think it boosts it. I'm a little bit sceptical about Abracadabras at the moment. He's 6-1 in the market for the Supreme Novice. It would just worry me that he's that big of a price and his form line is so strong and he's not being well supported. I just wonder if everything's okay at home. Kilbrick and Storm from the Golf Storm Coral Cup. Jam Man trumped the solid form. 142. Surely goes close. Matthew Bruce. I've had a look at this horse. He is £10 lower than when running in the Stayers Hurdle last year. Looks like he might be being set up for a tilt at the Coral Cup. I wouldn't put you off at all. 33-1 he is if you fancy him. Have a go, Matthew. Thank you very much for your questions. There are a few more, but we are now on 20 minutes. Christ. Right, just wanted to quickly go through where we're at with our Ante-post bets. If you've been following these videos, these are the bets you should have. Vindication to win the Gold Cup at 33-1. Happy with our position there. Outside position, we're just taking a chance. Andy Dufresne, Ballymore, and Andy Dufresne, Supreme Novice Hurdle. I think we can say goodbye to that. Notebook to win the Arkle at 25-1. We should be banging there. Duvan to win the Champion Chase at 14-1. We've taken a little bit of a chance there. We'll see if he makes it. Honeysuckle to win the Champion Hurdle at 12-1. If she goes, we're in a fantastic position. Unexpected to win the Supreme Novice Hurdle at 11-1. I think we can write that one off. Epitaph to win the Champion Hurdle at 3-1. Perhaps not value, but with the Honeysuckle bet, you can see what I was doing there. It's putting us in the best position. Sire de Burley to win a Potemps final at 10-1. I think he's got a cracking chance. Champ to win the RSA at 4-1. I think that's value, considering battle over Doyen today. Faheen's going to drop back to the marsh. I don't think he wants a yard further than his trip today. Riders on the Storm for the Ryanair at 10-1. I think it's a cracking bet. He will want cutting the ground, but so will a Plutard, who's going to be his biggest danger, as well as Min. But gives us a nice solid bet in there. And then last week was Imperial Aura at 14-1 for the Close Brothers handicap. I'm happy with where we are. We're going to add Monkfish for the Albert Bartlett to that today at 8-1. Pray to God that this race starts becoming a punter-friendly race. And yeah, we can move on. Thank you very much for listening and taking part. Please give it a like. Please subscribe to the Racing Tips channel. Go on the website. I've got loads and loads of previews coming out for Cheltenham over these next few weeks. Love it if you could follow us on Twitter, Racing Tips. And yeah, love the interaction. Thank you very much. Speak to you soon.